this is Erin and Simon with Assets and Arbitrage. Today is our 50th episode. We're going to try to do something nice for the 100th episode. We wanted to do something for the 50th, and during the holiday season, it just became difficult to do, but we do want to celebrate our 50th show. Today, we have a good show today that piggybacks off of some of the information we were talking about with Andy Scheckman during one of our last shows.
So today we want to talk about the BRICS nations and some of the new people who are applying for the BRIC nations and what this could mean as far as your investing and your positioning, right? Because we're always talking about positioning yourself, like making chess moves. So there are moves being made out here that people should be aware of, and that's what we want to talk about today, and how it will interact with your crypto investment, mostly Bitcoin, like we say, maybe your precious metals and things that you have going on. So we're just going to bring up a quick definition of what BRICS is, and then we're going to go into what's happening.
So BRICS is an acronym for the 5 leading emerging economies. This includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, okay? The BRICS have a combined area of 40,000 kilometers, and the reason why they bring that up and tell you that there's a total population of 3.21 billion is because they want you to understand that the collaboration of the BRICS nations and anyone else interested in joining is way more volume than the Western nations, US power, England, Australia, etc. So that's very important to know. So Brazil, Russia, India, and China are among the world's largest 10 countries by population, area, and GDP. They are widely considered to be current or emerging superpowers. The point of this show today is to let you guys know that America is no longer, I should say the United States is no longer the superpower that we think they are. They are no longer the trendsetters in investments. They're not even the trendsetters in crypto adoption, right? Europe is beating us by far. And as you can see, the Latin American countries are coming up on them. So we really want to kind of bring to your attention, Rome is burning. A lot of people who live in the US feel like it is the focal point and the center of the entire universe. It isn't anymore. There are emerging powers and emerging superpowers who are now coming into play. Is that what you want?
No, just get the camera.
Oh, that are coming into play. And we need to be ready and be able to move our finances and to take care of our wealth in a more strategic manner.
Yes, indeed. So, like I said, we had our good brother, the Chief, on here a few episodes ago, Percy Grisby, shout out to him. He said something that I found very profound. He said he wants to put his pennies where the big players are putting their dollars. So we have to see where the big players are moving their dollars around so that we could be prepared. And this is, this show has a level of preparedness. So we want to talk about a little bit of preparedness, see what's going on. So we have an article that we want to bring up and talk to you about. And do you want to share the screen with it? Yeah, we're going to share the screen. So this is we wanted to do this show for a few weeks now, but we had some other things going on. But this is by Silk Road Briefing, and they're talking about some of the new nations that want to be added into the BRICS. And so, with that, we're going to talk about some of the different areas around the world where these countries want to be part of the BRICS nations, and we're going to talk about why they want to be part of the BRICS nations. So let's read a little bit of this. These are the new candidates for BRICS, and they're going to call BRICS expansion, and I've heard it's been called BRICS Plus, right? So, so this is what we're going to do.
If accepted, the new proposed BRICS members or this BRIC expansion would create an entity with a GDP 30% larger than the United States and over 50% of the global population. This means they'll be in control of 60% of global gas reserves, okay? So this is very important. If you take a look at this map, I hope you guys can see my itty bitty cursor, but notice that the US, Canada, Australia, and Europe are grayed out. Look at all of the red for the BRICS nations and the expansion nations who want to join. Okay, these people are basically coming together strategically to basically backdoor the United States and to mitigate the weaponization of the US dollar.
Yes, you know, and weaponization of the US dollar for the rest of the world has been very problematic. You know, you put sanctions on certain countries, and we've talked about this before. Once you get out the United States, it's hard to get access to dollars, especially in high levels, because you have to go purchase the dollar. There's going to be what do you call it? A premium to it. It's going to be a premium to purchasing the dollar. So they're trying to move outside of the SWIFT system, right? And we'll just go into that real quick, just in case. You tell them what the SWIFT system is. It's an acronym.
So the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications, SWIFT, is a Belgian cooperative society providing services related to the execution of financial transactions and payments between banks worldwide. Its principal function is to serve as the main messaging network through which international payments are initiated.
And we're going to get into that a little bit later. But let's get to this article. Let's get to the nations who are.
I was just going to talk.
Oh, okay. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So concerning a BRICS expansion, it is stated that Algeria, Argentina, and Iran had all applied. It's already known that Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Egypt, and Afghanistan are interested, along with Indonesia. And they're going to be making a formal application to join at the upcoming G20 summit. Other likely contenders for membership include Kazakhstan, Nicaragua, Nigeria, Senegal, Thailand, and the United Arab Emirates. All had their France ministers present at the BRICS expansion dialogue meeting that was held this previous May. So we're basically going to examine the basic economic data of the proposed new BRICS members. We talked about the GDP. I'm not going to go into it again. This article will be available in the description. However, we do want to explain a little bit about each country and their motivation to join.
Okay.
Did you?
No, we're just going to go over country by country. So let's go. First country is Afghanistan, right? So we have Afghanistan. And, you know, I like to mention the population, 40 million people, just so you can start to see how many people there are combined in these BRICS nations against the population of the Western world. So we'll go into Afghanistan. We'll read a little short about Afghanistan.
But when he brings up the population in these countries, you got to remember that the Western world is also in a negative birth rate, right? There's no growth there. So you're going to see also here that there's a growth rate percentage. That's very important to take a look at and understand that these countries, their populations are growing. They're not in negative birth rate.
Yeah, below replacement as we talked about.
Or below replacement, that's the word I was looking for. So Afghanistan, this is actually quite interesting because it's one of the poorest countries in the world. It's been shattered by decades of war. Who's got the war there? Us, right? So Afghanistan's membership of an expanded BRICS will provide much needed additional security. So they're joining strategically in order to get the security they need from the big bad bullies. The United States has frozen all of Afghani assets held overseas for reparations for 9/11. Joining BRICS will give it access to new funding and redevelopment sources. Afghanistan is an observer state. So one of the things that Simon really wanted to point out to you guys was the influence that these countries have over other countries. When we hear Afghanistan, we just told you it's one of the poorest countries in the world,
right? But
the influence it has in the other regions is what's important, which is why it makes them a great candidate for the BRICS nations. They're an observer state to the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. This includes China, India, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, Russia, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan. That's how you say Tajikistan? Tajikistan, Uzbekistan as full members, while Armenia, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Belarus, Cambodia, Egypt, Kuwait, the Maldives, Mongolia, Myanmar, Nepal, Saudi Arabia, Sri Lanka, Turkey, help me,
I can't
Turkmenistan,
Turkmenistan.
Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates are all in various states as SCO dialogue partners and observers. That is a lot of volume that they are bringing with them to the table.
Mhm.
Okay, they're also a member of the South Asian Trade Bloc, which includes Bangladesh,
Mhm.
Bhutan, India, the Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. Afghanistan's largest trade partner is India, followed by Pakistan, China, Turkey, and the UAE. Notice these are their largest trade partners, so now they're at the point where they're gonna do business with them, and there's no business being done with the United States. That's gonna eat into the US economy, especially since we have their frozen assets.
Mhm.
We were making money off of the war in Afghanistan in the United States. I don't know if you guys realize
For
that.
many years, and that could be a whole another show. We had to get into that conversation. But we're just gonna go over this next one we're gonna see is Algeria. So Algeria, you know, I'm sure you guys know, it's in northern Africa. It's kind of right there by Chad, Egypt, Morocco, stuff like that. And they have a $45 million population, right? So not a whole bunch of people as far as a country that large. They have a growth rate of 2.3%. And so let's talk about why it's important that they are joining the BRICS expanded or the BRICS Plus.
So Algeria has the 10th largest proven natural gas reserves globally.
Mhm.
It is the world's 6th largest gas exporter. It has the world's 3rd largest untapped shale gas resource. They're a member of OPEC. This includes Congo, Ecuador, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Libya, Nigeria, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and Venezuela, as well as the Arab trade zone, including Bahrain, Egypt, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Libya, Morocco, Oman, Palestine, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Sudan, Syria, Tunisia, the United Arab Emirates, and Yemen.
So I'm gonna just slow down right there, just for everybody to know. The OPEC, which is very important as far as petroleum trade, and so what OPEC is the organization of the petroleum exporting countries. So that's what she was saying when she said OPEC. They are
they're basically a cartel of 13 countries.
Well, the countries that have all the oil, so you know.
But it says that. It says it's a cartel of 13 countries.
Yeah.
So they're organized, it's about making money, and it's about finding opportunities to keep that money coming in without being bullied or without stumbling blocks of Western nations.
Yes, indeed. So let's go on to the next.
But wait, I wanted to tell them one more thing.
Okay.
So Algeria's largest trade partners are Italy, France, Spain, the United States, and Brazil. Although it's shown a recent push to be more involved in non-Western markets. They're not even interested in doing business with the Western markets anymore.
Right.
And as we keep going, you're gonna see more and more countries who aren't interested in the United States and what they have to do.
Yeah, so, and you know, and say, well, how does this, we talk about cryptocurrency, we're talking about wealth building and things like that. You just have to see where the money is moving and that you can move your money in that way. We always talk about, you know, the arbitrage of living abroad, but there's also an arbitrage of investing abroad, right? Now, we really don't talk about oil and stuff like that. I mean, you can invest in oil, it is petroleum, I should say. It is always still a good investment because the world needs it, but also there's a portion of the world that's going green, right? And that's why we always are big on investing in silver, because the industrial usage of silver in the green initiative is very big as far especially like solar panels, things like that. So yeah, you know, just see where the world is moving and you can kind of move, you know, get prepared, you know, move your chess pieces. You see what's going on, move your chess pieces in the correct place so that you can, you know, benefit from it, you know, and that's what we just like to talk about in general as far as the arbitrage. So we got the third country, Argentina. Argentina, okay, so Argentina, 46 million population. They have a good growth rate at 3.6, but it's not above replacement. It's not beating inflation, but all right, so let's read what we got going on with Argentina.
Argentina is an agricultural economy and major global supplier. It is the second largest member of the Latin American Mercosur trade bloc,
Yes.
which includes Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, and has additional trade agreements with other most Latin American nations. They also have trade agreements with India, the Southern African Customs Union, which includes Botswana, Eswatini, Lesotho, Namibia, and South Africa.
Yes.
Argentina's major trade partners include Brazil, China, US, Germany, Chile, Paraguay, Vietnam, and Germany. Just understand, if they are wanting to join the BRICS nation, they're coming away from these Western countries, regardless if that's their trade partners or not.
And I wanted to mention, like we say, we like to give people their credit. We watched a good show, a good interview with Andy Sheckman. He was on here maybe a couple of weeks ago, and he mentioned that don't look at the country as much as look at their influence in the region, right? So now Brazil was already a BRICS nation. Now the second biggest nation in South America, which is right next to Brazil, is applying to be a BRICS nation. So that is huge influence in the region and the whole continent. So that's what you want to look at. We talk about it with Algeria, huge influence in Northern Africa. So you have these places, and the next place is also located in Northern Africa, who has a great reach of influence. And I'll let you talk about it. It's Egypt. They have 104 million as a population, and they have a very high growth rate of 6.6%. So let's talk about Egypt in the Northern African region as well.
Egypt is an energy and agricultural play with important exports, including petroleum and petroleum products, followed by raw cotton, cotton yarn, and textiles. Raw materials.
It's not cotton.
Cotton, yeah, cotton.
All right, we'll keep it moving.
Mineral and chemical products and capital goods are also exported. Among agricultural exports are rice, onions, garlic, and citrus fruit. They are a member of the Arab trade zone. And listen to the zones. When we talk about the zones, this is where their influence is. Algeria, Bahrain, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Libya, Morocco, Oman, Palestine, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Sudan, Syria, Tunisia, the United Arab Emirates, and Yemen. They're also a member of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which reduces the tariffs to 0 on 98% of intra-African trade. They are a dialogue communications partner to the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, including, there's China again. You're gonna see China's fingers in every single pot. India, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, Russia, say it again.
Which one are we looking at?
Tajikistan. There we go, Tajikistan. Yeah. Uzbekistan is full members. Afghanistan, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Belarus, Cambodia, Kuwait, the Maldives, Mongolia, Myanmar, Nepal, Saudi Arabia, Sri Lanka, Turkey, Turkmenistan, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and they're all various status of SCO dialogue partners and observers. Egypt's most important trading partner is China. Then the United States, Italy, Germany, and the Gulf Arab countries. Again, wanting to say, I'm willing to sit at a table where we don't have to do business with y'all.
Right. And like we said, we can keep going over this. It's just got a lot to do with the weaponization of the US dollar. And people are trying to bypass or, go around, circumvent having to use the US dollar. And that's just what it is. These are the chess moves that are being made by other countries. And so we just wanted to bring this information to you guys. It's all important to your investing, your crypto. We're Bitcoin and then like the precious metals, but this is all in great information to understand where people are moving their capital.
Mhm.
And so we're going to go on to the next country, which is Indonesia, right? So Indonesia has 276 million people as far as population, which is important. I mean, that's close to the United States. Huge, huge population, and it has a 5.4% growth rate. So Indonesia making moves like that is very interesting. So I'll let you.
So they're a member of the Southeast Asian Free Trade Bloc.
Mhm.
This includes Brunei,
Mhm.
Cambodia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. They were previously a member of OPEC.
Yeah.
Indonesia's main trade is oil, gas, minerals, crude palm oil, electrical appliances, rubber products. They have a free trade agreement with New Zealand, Japan, South Korea, China, Hong Kong, and India. Indonesia is also a signatory between the RCEP FTA, which I'm not familiar with,
Mhm.
and the and the Southeast Asian Free Trade Bloc, basically,
Mhm.
which is Australia, China, Japan, New Zealand, and South Korea. And they also have an agreement with Chile.
Chile, yes, indeed.
They're negotiating other FTAs or free trade agreements with the European Union, India, Tunisia, Turkey, as well as reviewing its trade agreements with Japan and Pakistan. Its main trade partners are China, followed by the United States, Japan, Singapore, and India. The reason why I keep emphasizing China is because when Andy Schectman was on, he was explaining to you guys about a pilot program that China was putting out called Enbridge. So what they did was they took their digital yuan and they were practicing settling payments utilizing the digital yuan, right? So that is their digital currency. They have already, I think, processed over 200, billion in, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Andy Schectman said over $220 billion in settlement payments. And it happened in minutes, in seconds and in minutes.
Mhm.
So understand when I'm telling you that China is doing business with all of these zones, countries, regions, and we're saying that they're backdooring US dollar settlements, they are trying to basically, it looks like, and I'm speculating, that they are pushing for their digital currency to try to be some type of world reserve currency in order to settle payments.
Yeah, and if you guys remember, they rolled that out at the Olympics.
Yes, they did.
In Beijing, I believe. It's in Beijing. It's in China, it's Beijing. And they rolled that out, and there was a pushback by the United States. They didn't want their athletes or their participants to partake in that, right? But that's when they rolled that out. And that's when you get countries from all over the world coming in. And then all of a sudden now you can see, oh, they're gonna push that digital yuan. They're gonna push it on us. We got the CBDCs that's gonna come out. We're gonna do another show about it. We have another SME who come on and tell us more about some of these CBDCs and a basket of currencies that are going to be backed by commodities. So that's going to be a good show. We're going to really dig deep into that. But we just wanted to talk about some of the countries applying to be a part of the BRICS. Now we're going to bring up, some of people's favorite country, Iran. Is that people's favorite country?
Where I can get a good cold beer, right? Iran.
Not Iran.
Go ahead with the growth rate.
Oh yeah, so the growth rate, they got a 7% growth rate, which is pretty good, and they have a population of 85 million. If you listen to we could go back and add up all these populations to see how large it is that the people are joining this BRIC nation, but you understand they have 85 million population. Iran over there in the Middle East. Tell us more.
So Iran, this is what Iran brings to the table. Iran has the equivalent of over 1.2 trillion with a T barrels of oil and gas. They are the largest holder of hydrocarbon reserves in the entire world. And
I will give you 1 trillion. I'm gonna get to my pet peeve. Yeah, the 1 trillion is 10 to the 12th power, 10 to the 12th power. Yeah.
In barrels of oil and gas.
1.2 times 10 to the 12th power. These numbers are enormous. These numbers are enormous. We take them kind of for granted. We did a show about scientific notation. 1.2 times 10 to the 12th power. Oils, come on, that's crazy.
Yeah, now, this is the most important part y'all should know. They are heavily sanctioned, as heavy as those barrels of oil are they sanctioned by the United States and Europe over plans for it to develop nuclear power plants. The West fears these could be used to make nuclear weapons capable of hitting Israel. What they're really scared of is that they're going to treat them the way the West treats them.
Yes.
That's always the underlying problem, which is why they keep people oppressed, because they're worried that those people are going to turn around and treat them the way they were treated. Iran, however, is a member of OPEC. It includes Algeria, Congo, Ecuador, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Iraq, Kuwait, Libya, Nigeria, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Venezuela. It's about to become a full member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, who does that belong to? China, India, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, Russia. I don't know why I can't get this word. Tajikistan, Uzbekistan as full members, while Afghanistan, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Belarus, Cambodia. We know this group already because I've mentioned it multiple times, including the United Arab Emirates, are all in various status. We talked about that for a few other countries.
And remember what we talked about before, you see these countries, you might not think that they're a big economy,
But they have resources.
But they have resources and they have influence in their region. And we keep talking about the same region of people. So if they have influence in the region and they can come together and do business, that's what you're going to see moving forward.
Now, Iran recently stated it is going to link its energy supply chains. It's basically going to collaborate 2 SCO member electricity networks, right? So I named all of those countries in the SCO. You can see it here. Again, this article is going to be in the description. All of these countries are going to have access to its energy supply chains. They are bringing fruit and food to the table for the people they link up and collaborate with. And it's the main transit focus for the international north-south transportation corridor that links trades from Europe, Russia, Turkey, the Caucasus, Central Asia, to markets in East Africa, Middle East, and South Asia. Notice the United States is not present in this collaboration. They're not collaborating with the US. They have a free trade agreement with the Eurasian Economic Union. This includes Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Russia. Its main trade partners are China, the UAE, India, Turkey, Russia, and Germany.
Yeah, so we're gonna move on to the next country.
Kazakhstan.
So Kazakhstan, 19 million population, not a whole bunch of people. They got a pretty good growth rate, 3.2%. But they're still in that region that we've been mentioning. You've heard Kazakhstan multiple times in the different, trade agreements, free trade agreements, SCOs, but we'll go into more depth what Kazakhstan has going on.
So it looks like Kazakhstan is joining the table because it needs resources. So it's an export-oriented economy that's highly dependent on shipments of oil and related products, 58% of total exports. In addition to oil, its main export commodities include natural gas, ferrous metals, copper, aluminum, zinc, and uranium. Kazakhstan is the world's 9th largest coal producer and ranks 17th in the world for crude oil production and the 24th for natural gas. I want to make something very clear as well, is that if the United States and the Western world are clamoring for green initiatives,
yes,
these countries rely on heavy carbon dating resources.
Yes,
they're talking about crude oil, coal, natural gases. So when the US is saying, yeah, we're gonna kind of put together this green agreement, whether you agree with them or not, at this point, it doesn't matter. The country's like, oh, y'all going green, you're not gonna buy our stuff. We'll just talk to each other.
Right, and then also we can't bypass what they're talking about with the ferrous metals. So, you know, we talk about precious metals a lot,
Yes.
gold, gold, silver, platinum, what else?
Platinum, palladium.
Palladium. But what they're talking about copper, aluminum,
Mhm.
zinc, and uranium, right? So these are different metals that you need in your everyday life. So
Infrastructure.
yeah, everyday infrastructure. So I mean, they got a lot going over there in Kazakhstan. You know, I don't know about. You said something about crude oil. They had the crude.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where did I said something? They are 17th in the world for crude oil production and 24th for natural gas. It's still pretty high up in the ranking.
High, yeah.
And it's a small country.
Yeah, they got a lot going on over there as far as resources.
Yeah, but they have food to bring to the table. But it looks like because they're a small country, they need protection.
Yeah.
They need you know, they need to be able to collaborate and link and do business. They are a full member of the SCO. We've already talked about who's part of the SCO. I'm not going to go over that again, but we just wanted you to have an idea that whether the country is small or large, they have lots to offer. They may need stuff in exchange, but they do have a lot of resources to offer. And a lot of these places you're seeing, the United States is not included in these things.
Exactly.
Nicaragua.
So we're going to come with one of my favorite countries, Nicaragua. You know, we did a lot of research about Nicaragua, looking to, you know, maybe move there or invest there. You know, so we're going to talk about their situation. They only have 7 million people. It's smaller than, it's smaller than New York City. It's probably smaller than Los Angeles.
Smaller than Brooklyn. No, maybe on or about Brooklyn-ish.
Yeah. And they got a 4.3% growth rate. I've been there. It's a very nice country, but you know, when you deal with some of these countries like that, these small countries, they can change as far as political situation on a dime. So you have to be careful about that. But we will talk about what Nicaragua is bringing to the table.
Again, first sentence. Nicaragua has been sanctioned by the United States for its ties with Cuba and Russia. It is a mining play and the leading gold producing country in Central America. Look what it brings to the table. It has a free trade agreement with the Alba Bloc. This is Cuba, Venezuela, Dominica, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Vincent, the Grenadines, Grenada, St. Kitts, Nevis, and is therefore an influential player in the Caribbean. They have influence over the Caribbean.
Over the region. That's what we say. Sometimes you see these countries, you don't think, well, they're not a big deal. But if they have influence over the region, that is a big deal.
Here we go. This is useful for China because it vies with Taiwan for recognition, the Caribbean being one of the few remaining regions where Taiwan retains full diplomatic relations. Taiwan can collaborate with the Caribbean, no problem. So whoever has influence, and we have those dialogue, what would you call them, babe? Those dialogue meetings, it's not meetings, not the word, but when they meet, there you go. Nicaragua's main exports are, first things first, gold. Coffee, who doesn't want a cup of coffee in the whole world, right? Huge export. Insulated wire, everyone needs that. And frozen bovine meat, a lot of people need that. Its main trade partners are the US, China, Mexico, El Salvador, Honduras, Costa Rica. But look at the countries. Mexico, El Salvador, Honduras, and Costa Rica are doing what? They're trying to get away from the US by using Bitcoin in order to settle things. They don't want to deal with the US settlement either. So even though the United States is his main trade partner now, they're trying to get a seat at a table where US don't even matter.
Yeah, and like she said, it'll be as it goes on, because we talked about these different countries, El Salvador, Honduras, Costa Rica, having their Bitcoin situations. They're going to start having settlement in Bitcoin and not the US dollar. And that's the currency now that we use, but it's moving away from that.
It might be, if it's China's got their hands in it, they're going to want to push their currency to be the settlement currency. If you want to sit at our table, we put this collaboration together. China has turned into, I don't know how many of you guys know this, China has turned into the new like British Empire,
Oh, we're gonna
the Chinese
talk about that.
Empire with the colonization of all of these Black countries, including the Caribbean, for my Caribbean people out
We're
there.
gonna talk about that, and I'll mention that at the end of the show, but we're gonna get into that.
But they're essentially trying to front run their digital currency to settle payments.
Yes, indeed. So now we're gonna go to another, Nigeria. So Nigeria is a country, it has 211 million as far as population, which is very far. Now they do have a growth rate of -12%. So they may have more of an incentive to get involved with BRICS.
Yes.
Right, so they can get
They need that.
the rate up. So let's talk about what Nigeria could bring to the table.
Here we go. Nigeria is the largest oil and gas producer for Africa, period. It is among the 10th largest in the world for both, top 10 for gas production, oil and gas production. It's a member of OPEC. We've talked about who OPEC is. It's additionally a member of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. We talked about the reduction of tariffs to 0 on 90% of all intra-African trade. Its main trade is crude petroleum. We're talking about that crude oil, crude petroleum, petroleum gas, refined petroleum. As the US and Western countries like Europe are trying to do a green initiative, they're like, well, what are we gonna do with all our stuff? So let's just talk to each other and don't worry about y'all. Nigeria's main trade partners are India, Spain, the Netherlands, China, and South Africa, which is also part of the BRICS nations.
Yeah, so they have a couple of main trade partners in the BRICS nations, which is good for them as far as building up and building out. You know, Nigeria is, well, I don't know, I would call it would you call it emerging market?
I don't think it's frontier. I think it's such a large.
It's emerging.
Lagos is huge.
Yeah, Lagos is one of the biggest cities in the world.
Definitely emerging. Like Mexico City is huge. I would say it's emerging.
So Nigeria, that's something to look into. You know, as far as we talk about investing, wherever you got to move, make it's chess moves, and that's what we're trying to talk about all the time. Just your chess moves, something you could do. You got to get prepared because a lot of things are happening. And you need to be prepared. And we're gonna go to another country. Here we go, Saudi Arabia. They're
gonna be the extra S.
Yeah, they're gonna be extra S. It's 35 million population, growth rate 8%, which is a pretty good growth rate. That's a pretty good growth rate. So let's talk about Saudi Arabia.
They possess around 17%. That's a large number. It looks small, but it's very large, of the world's proven petroleum reserves. Again, we're talking crude oil. Apart from petroleum, the kingdom's other natural resources include natural gas, iron ore, gold, copper. It is a member of OPEC. You guys know who that is. They're a part of the Arab Trade Zone. We talked about that earlier. Saudi Arabia is a member of the Gulf Cooperation Council. It is a regional, intergovernmental, political and economic union. It's very comprehensive, comprising of Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. The GCC currently has a free trade agreement with Singapore, very wealthy country, and is negotiating free trade agreements with China and India.
And remember, we talked about the influence on the region, right? You might not think Saudi Arabia, I mean, they're nobody. But they have huge influence on the region. She just said it.
It's a kingdom.
It's a kingdom. So understand the influence they have on regions, and they're coming together to form, unfortunately, like Voltron or something. I mean,
they form like Voltron, but
I'm worried.
For those of you who get used to hearing words and we don't really put the emphasis on the words when we hear it, kingdom is short for the king's dominion over a region. They have king's dominion over these countries when we have these dialogues. That's why I made it a point to emphasize the word kingdom. So it's very important. You don't see the United States anywhere in this. Why do we keep emphasizing that? If you work a job in the United States that's part of the US economy, understand this is all the money that's not a part of your US economy. We are talking about societal collapse. We're talking about economic collapse. We're talking about being below replacement. Rome is burning. And we're basically saying, find different ways to maximize your spending power, as you were telling us, Simon and he woke up early this morning, sun wasn't out, and he said, Erin, I have a plan for 2023 where we're going to maximize spending power, because we are already seeing here in Mexico that the peso is actually kind of strengthening itself against that US dollar.
It is. And we moved here actually with the idea that the dollar was strengthened against the peso, but Mexico is a emerging market. And so it's keeping pace with the dollar, if not strengthening against it. So, these things you got to keep in mind if you're going to move around the world, try to get that arbitrage. You'll see where, maybe you're losing arbitrage and you say, hey, we might have to do something different.
But we're also hearing whispers that Mexico wants to sit at this table. The US treats Mexico like an illegitimate child, right? Let's be honest. I'm being very honest with you guys in this treatment of Mexico and its citizens and stuff, despite it being such a close neighbor. Mexicans, for the most part, have always looked up to the United States as the big brother, that big brother celebrity kind of treatment. They've always, the US is so fantastic. That sentiment is quickly changing.
It's changing.
We are sick of you dumping the situation here in Mexico. We're sick of you not letting people in the United States. They're stuck here in Mexico. It's costing us money. You guys move here. You don't treat us right because of the American propaganda. Where Americans and Europeans will come to Mexico and treat Mexicans like second-class citizens. You're in their home.
Yeah, so you have to just
see the writing on the wall.
See the writing on the wall as you move around. If you're moving around, whether you're investing, whether you're actually physically boots on the ground. So see what she's saying, the writing on the wall. So now we're going to go to Senegal, right? Senegal has 17 million as a population. That would be smaller than New York City.
The city as a whole,
the city as a whole. So have 1.6% growth rate right now. So if I'm not mistaken, Senegal is where they're building the crypto city, right?
Yes.
Okay. So as far as we're talking about crypto, we have what's our good brother's name?
Who, baby?
The singer. My memory is okay, so
with the electricity and stuff, he's doing a lot there. He is a major influence all by himself.
So he's doing big work out there in Senegal. So and then they're gonna try to apply to be part of the BRICS nations, which is important, right? You see a lot of these African countries getting in here and wanting to be part of these BRICS nations. The initial BRICS nation, only South Africa was a part.
Yes.
But you see these other African countries understanding that, we need to get. And one other thing, Senegal, if you're familiar where Senegal is located, they have influence in that region over there. I'm gonna talk about that. Yeah, over there, kind of like, by Rwanda and stuff like that. So they have influence. So, but go ahead, I'm gonna let her talk about it.
They are a medium capacity gold mining. It's gold, right? So as we talk about silver, gold, the gold moving, the gold being exported out of the US, we're also showing you countries where gold is their thing, and they're going to share that resource among their region. That gold's not coming back to the United States. It's a medium capacity gold mining and energy player. They have reserves in gold, oil, and gas. The energy industry is at a growth stage as reserves have only recently been found, which means if we just found it, this is plus. This is credit in our gas resource bank. We just found it. So now we have more. Their main exports, again, include gold, refined petroleum, frozen fish, phosphoric acid is basically used in fertilizers. So that's for farming, and ground nuts. We love nuts, I guess, pause. I guess that's a big export, right? It's also a member of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. We've talked about that, where they have the free trade inside of Africa. Their trade partners are their neighbors, Mali, as well as India, China, Australia, and Switzerland.
China's in every one, if you guys
know. And in Guyana, we just say, You like pot salt because you put salt in every single pot.
Oh, okay.
China is pot salt. They are in every pot. They're simmering in every recipe. There's nothing going on in the kitchen that China is not a part of.
China's, man. And we how many more do we have to do?
A few more. There's a lot. Oh no, just two more, babe. Just two more.
Okay, then I'll get to it. So we're gonna do Thailand, right? So okay, so we're gonna do Thailand.
49 minutes.
Thailand. So let me look at the numbers. Thailand. So they have a large population, 70 million. They have a 3.3% growth rate. And we want to talk about, opportunities and things going on with Thailand.
So Thailand is one of the, I said it earlier, it was the Southeastern Asian Network, right? I can't remember what the first A stood for, with free trade bloc. We talked about these countries earlier. They're a signatory, which means they can sign to the RCEP free trade agreement, with Australia, China, Japan, New Zealand, and South Korea. The country mainly exports manufactured goods. 86% of their total shipments are manufactured goods that they export. It's a big number. Electronics, vehicles, machinery and equipment, foodstuffs, not sure what that means, right? Foodstuffs being the most important. Agricultural goods, mainly rice, rubber, account for 8% of their total shipments. Their main trade partners are the US, China, Japan, Hong Kong, and Vietnam. Again, if we're having this conversation that they're part of the BRICS expansion, they are coming away from whatever it is they're doing with the US. Or whatever they're doing with the US is secondary or tertiary to this.
So, hey.
You like that, tertiary?
Tertiary, I like
I've been trying to like force feed that in the conversation.
Tertiary. So we're gonna do our last country.
United Arab Emirates, baby.
So we're gonna do the UAE, United Arab Emirates. Their population is 10 million. It's a big place where a lot of expats are moving. A lot of people are going over there to do business and things like that. It's like a emerging market. It's not even frontiers now. It's emerging market.
And it's wealthy.
It's wealthy, and it's about building wealth. And we may get somebody on here to talk about the UAE. We have a subject matter expert that we want to get on here and talk about the UAE and what's going on over there. So, be on the lookout for that, but let's break down the UAE.
So the UAE is the world's 10 largest oil producers. We're talking that top 10 ranking. 96% of the country's roughly 100 billion with the B, right? 100 billion barrels of proven oil reserves are located in Abu Dhabi, ranking 6th worldwide. 100 billion barrels.
100 billion, what's that?
To the 9th.
That's to the 9th power.
Y'all see he's making me a nerd,
to
y'all.
The 9th power. That's to the 9th power, y'all.
My math strengthened significantly upon meeting him. I needed that. To the 9th power. They're a member of OPEC. We've talked about who OPEC is. We've talked about the Arab trade zone. I'm going to read it one more time, though. Algeria, Bahrain, Egypt, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Libya, Morocco, Oman, Palestine, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Sudan, Syria, Tunisia, and Yemen.
And remember, this is regional. That's what we talk about. You might see a place that you don't think has a big economy or something, but they have huge regional influence. And she just read off all the regional influence that they have.
They're part of the GCC, which we talked about earlier. They currently have a free trade agreement with Singapore. They're negotiating free trade agreements with China and India.
China, where have you heard that before?
Hot salt, yeah, hot salt. They are a dialogue partner in the SCO. Their economy is highly dependent on exports of oil and natural gas. 40% of their total exports are oil and natural gas. Other exports include pearls, precious metals, and stones, almost 30%. Machinery, did I read that right? Yeah, okay, because that's 9%. Machinery, sound recorders and parts, I don't know. Transport vehicles, I guess. The electric vehicle industry is also becoming centered, because Kevin talked to us about that. The electric vehicle industry is also becoming centered in part around the UAE. They're trying to bolster the electric vehicles over in that area because of the heavy reliance upon crude oil and that heavy carbon dating. The Emirates' largest trade partners are Saudi Arabia. Remember, Saudi Arabia is now part of the BRICS nations, which is in cahoots with China. Even though you don't see China there, China's influence is going to be there in Saudi Arabia because they're part of BRICS. Iraq, India, and Switzerland. An expanded BRICS, including the nations above, together with Brazil, Russia, India, and China. Remember, China's running the show. And South Africa would possess 45% of known global reserves. That's half, right, in the world. And over 60% of all known global gas reserves. So that's more than half. Its combined GDP as at today would amount to, and they added it up for you, sweetheart, 29.35 trillion, making it considerably larger than the United States economy at 23 trillion and double that of the European economy, which is only 14.5 trillion. So you're already seeing if we get together, we can beat up the big bad wolf, or we could just ignore the big bad wolf and he can huff and puff all he wants to. He can't knock our house down. So those are the things that we want to kind of bring to your attention. We talked about these countries, they talked about gold. They didn't really talk about silver and stuff, but we talked about gold, and just understand if the gold is with them, it's not with us. It's not part of our economy. When Andy Schechman was there, he told you about the 100 millions of metric tons of gold that were being exported out of the United States. That is old wealth, which is worth a lot more than newer wealth or newer minted gold or newer mine gold. So understand that that wealth is leaving the US. And with these nations moving together, collaborating together, dialoguing together, however you want to put it, they are not having any conversations with the United States. They are working together to backdoor and mitigate having to deal in US dollars. That affects every single person watching this show.
Definitely. So make sure you're positioning yourself in the right way, whether, we talk about Bitcoin, whether we talk about silver, gold, position yourself in the right way, because people with big money are positioning themselves. So, just understand that it's a chess game, right? It's chess a game. You got to be out here. We always talk about playing chess, not checkers. You know what you got to do. You know what you got to do for your family, whatever fits your family, with your structure, what you got going on, but be positioning yourself. It's very, very, very important.
Well, thank you guys for watching. Today's Bengals Sunday. I got to get my baby to the game. Mama done cooked up some wings for them and some other hors d'oeuvres and sandwiches. Hopefully the Bengals have a good day today. So we're going to let y'all go. And we will see y'all next week. Thank you guys for being there with us, giving us the opportunity for 50 shows. We are very proud of us. We are very proud of you. We hope you're proud of us. And we'll see you guys next week. Love y'all.